long shot. This is a forward concept. A forward concept, fading out. Or I know it as a forward concept. Out, fade. Cool. QB's just seen. I don't know whether they see this is the next play directly. I don't know whether they've spoken and seen, oh yeah, I won that. I beat that corner on that last play. Give me an opportunity, get the ball out to me. The receiver does a nice job. I like the receiver's route. Receiver's route is excellent. Unfortunately, it's a slightly overthrown ball. Slightly inaccurate throw, sorry. But it's a lovely route. If we watch what the receiver does here. The receiver does his initial stem. This guy's got inside leverage. The receiver stems towards the leverage, causes him to widen, then creates his space, runs along the numbers. And if it's a decent throw, it's a free 20 yards. It's a free 15, 20 yards. If it's a decent throw, it's a free 15, 20 yards. Very well-run route. Very good job. Inaccurate throw on this occasion. Cool. Let's go to the next play. Here we go. This is another one. So they decided that they wanted to throw the ball a little bit now. Now, if we look here, yes, this ball's complete. This ball is complete. But if you remember back to what we were looking at the notes tape, and the crispness with which the QB made decisions and acted on it, and then moved on it. If we watch here, with this concept, is I believe it's an out and out and a fade. It's an out and out and a fade. And essentially, he's reading. What's he reading here? Cool. It looks to me here that he's reading number 7, and he's reacting off number 7. He knows this guy's going to work out. This guy's going to work out. Based on the fact that this guy's off, if it's a good throw, this guy will be open as long as 7 is not in the vicinity. As long as 7 is not in the vicinity. If 7 is in the vicinity, then if this guy's right, if 8 has to take away the fade. If 8 doesn't take away the fade, one of these two is going to be open. One of these two is going to be open. So essentially, he's reading 7. If 7 vacates, then the number 3 should be open. If 7 doesn't vacate, the number 2 receiver should be open. Cool. So let's watch that. Cool. 7 vacates here, but if you watch the QB, he almost clutches it and waits to confirm for the number 3 receiver to turn his head around to show him he's ready before throwing it. While in my mind, this throw should be done with anticipation. If it's done with anticipation, this guy might gain some yards, might make some plays. Like the moment 7 vacates, if the QB looks to throw it towards this region, number 3 receiver might catch it and gain some yardage. Now this is very minor. The guy catches it, they gain the yardage. It might not have happened, might not even win. But I feel like if he had just worked on the anticipation, because 7 is vacated, the decision's made. Like you're going to want to throw this ball. You throw a little bit early, it gives your players a chance to make a play. But because this ball is thrown to the later end of the timing window, essentially the guy gains no extra yardage on it. And that's what we witness. Boom, tackled straight away. Cool. So, it's completion. QB read the play correctly, got the throw out. I thought that he could have been a little bit more crisp with in terms of reacting to the decision he's made. 7's vacated. You throw it with a little bit of anticipation, throw in a nice slot. The moment the guy gets out of the break, you should catch it. You might gain a few more yards. And it's a small thing. You may agree, you may not agree, but that's what I think on that one. So this is their second drive, the third play of their second drive. Cool, another run play. Boom. Big yardage. And what you'll see here is a consistent theme. A consistent theme with the run plays is that the run plays are getting to the third level before getting dealt with. And you don't want that to happen. In reality, so we've seen for the last few plays, I think the last 3 or 4 plays, UWE have chosen to pass the ball. They've chosen to pass the ball. They haven't needed to pass the ball. They've chosen to pass the ball. Because their run game has been dominant in the plays that we see. Like, they are regularly getting 4 or 5 yards minimum a clip. Like, they just chosen to run and pass the ball because they wanted to do that. They could have just ran until these guys decided to figure out how to defend the run. I don't know if that's what they'll change up in the final or they'll stick at this, then they won the game. But if the run's not getting stopped, why not just keep running the ball? Cool. Sorry. What do we have here? So we're once again in body gun minus, twins left. Body gun minus, twins left. We've got 7 people in the box, plus a safety who they've loaded slightly. So it looks as though it looks like it might be man. Maybe the safety's high in the midfield, but it looks like it might be man. So they've essentially got extra blockers that not maybe in this situation have realised that they're struggling in terms of dealing with this run. So they decided to load it with an extra person to help afford the run and essentially isolated their DBs to cover up singularly. So what we end up having here. Cool. We end up running power. Or we essentially end up running power. Well, why would describe as power anyway? Essentially end up running power. But on this occasion, so essentially what we end up having is block down, block down, block down, block down, pull to wrap, pull to kick, I would argue, pull to kick. Although it's like awkward angles, so it looks like he's also pulling to wrap, but it's pull to kick, pull to wrap. So essentially we've got power. And then we've got this guy coming in through this lane. So now, in order to deal with this, how would we play this? How should we look for Nottingham to play this? Or how would I recommend it should be played? Essentially, because of the way in which they down block the guard and the centre, you end up with a window open here. You're going to end up with a window open here. So I would expect this guy to plug that instantly. That guy should be plugging that instantly. Window open. And knowing that essentially if the fullback comes into there, his job is to take the inside shoulder. I'd expect him to be plugging it, working off the outside leg of the centre as the centre's down blocking. 34, I'd expect him to be, because the D lineman is taking the B and the C gap, it's taking the C gap and the B gap. I would expect him to be watching the fullback and knowing he's got to play the outside shoulder of the fullback. So the moment the fullback comes in here, he's working to plug that out. So that now leaves one gap open. And because the guard pulls from this side, so because this card pulls, I expect number 7 to read the guard, fill, boom. And we essentially end up using our second level to plug up the 3 gaps they've created. D-line's doing their thing, fighting hard, trying to penetrate, trying to work. And these 3 working as a unit deal with the 3 gaps that are created from the 2 points. That's what I expect. If we do that, this goes for a 1, 2, maybe 3 yard game. That's what would end up happening. Of course, that isn't what happens, so that's clearly not what they do. Cool. And why does it go for so many yardage here? Not only are they a little bit passive in terms of like the second level, coming downhill and filling the gaps. You see, the 2 pullers have come through. No one's hit them at the line, so they're now working out for extra 3 yardage. 34 is a bit late. 6 is a bit slow coming down. When 6 does now engage the block, 6 should be engaging here. 34 engages here, 7 engages here. Ideally, it all happens 2 yards before this point, but that's what should end up happening. When 6 does engage the block, he ends up engaging the block here, and essentially what that ends up doing is it negates 34. We essentially have 1, 2 people in the same gap. If 7 ends up taking this outside lane, what do we end up having? 7 ends up taking this outside lane. What do we end up having? Because of that, this lane's wide open. That's what he ends up hitting. doesn't get challenged to the second level. So it's a second level play. A second level play. We've got to know our gaps, know how they might fit and flow, and work as a unit to help the D line. It's a seven. It's a box. The boxes have to work together as a unit to stop the run. Having a dominant D line will not always save you, particularly if you come up against a team that's as equally talented, which is what UWE are not far. They're relatively equally talented, in my opinion. Boom, gets free, gets the second level, fights hard, gains a bunch of yardage. A bunch of yardage. Cool, the fourth play. Drive. So Buddy minus again. Lovely deep throw. Nice ball. Good. And I think this is one of the strengths of the UWE QB. I think the UWE QB, if his number one reads open, he gets to them, he gets into them relatively accurately. It's a good job. If you're asking him, or if it's a number one, or it's a simple read, I'm going to look at this, I'm going to throw this ball up, be relatively accurate, he's good at it. And this is just an example. You've got the fade out here, put into the perfect spot in between the corner and the safety that's coming to try and help out. And he did that with a regularity in this game. Like, it was 3 or 4 of these balls he managed to slot. Some of them were caught, some of them weren't. But he managed to slot it. So if this is number one read, or you're asking him to hit a fade on a sort of press look, he does an excellent job on that. And it comes to having to then work through his progressions, or the second read isn't wide open or isn't initially his peripheral view, I don't think he does the best job on that. And I think if Knots can get him into a situation where he can't instantly go to his number one read, or he has to read the concept throughout and make decisions, I think that's when they'll get it. But we'll see how it ends up going in the championship game. Because they're well matched teams. So here, and I think this is another one. So this ball from the QB, one of the strengths of the UWE offense. This sideline throw, fade, good strength. I thought this is and I have no doubt the Knots coaching staff are going to watch the tape, see what was worked well, see what they thought was bad. I thought one of the things with the Knots tape is this was a recurring theme. Well, we'll see it now in the second drive, but if you end up watching the full game, you see it's a recurring theme. They like to play this sort of press and start off press from their corners with an inside leverage. And I assume that's to take away anything quick underneath and any sort of in-breaking rights. Try and take away from that. And that's maybe from scouts, that's what they've seen, and that's what they've challenged. I personally thought that them living in this sort of press and soft press and not really get hands-on or missing, it gives them this fade ball with a consistency. And the UWE wideout receivers, they're good off the press. They get nice releases. They stem well against it. They get themselves. They generate space and separation, and the QB's good enough to catch and make these throws. So I'm not saying that they shouldn't play press at all. I just think they should live in this press, and they lived in this press in the game, and they got penalised for it for a few times. Yes, a few times that they made the plays, but the QB's accurate enough, and the receivers do such a good job on the release against this press with a regularity that I feel like just changing it up. Sometimes showing press, maybe sometimes not showing press, but just not living in this is a way to go. That's what I personally find. And you see it here. Essentially on the top of the field, corners in press. Lovely little release. Misses the jam, gets open, lovely throw into that soft spot, and it's scored. And although this is the first one, it's not the only one they do in this game. Cool, next play. Nice, little interception. Cool. And I think this play here is another example. The rest of the concept gets messed up, basically. It's a no-go. But QB never looks to deal with it anyway. But it's a no-go. But with this, the QB's pre-snap, he knows he wants to go to 19. If 19 gives him a good enough look, or looks like he's winning, within a certain window which he's going to look at it, he's going to look to make that throw. And that's what ends up happening here. Even though it looks now ill-advised, but I would argue it was always ill-advised, just from the certain things I'm going to talk about now. So we look here, off the snap, they're doing what they've been doing all game. This side, soft press or a little bit off. corners in the chat that let me know. Inside leverage, the soft press, inside leverage. So it looks like he's chosen to go ahead. They do a pre-snap, it does a signal which the receiver seems to acknowledge. But with the corner being inside leverage, as you see, it's a pick. Seems as though in the window in which the QB is looking at, he sees that at this point it looks like he's going to win on the inside. And the moment he's done that, the QB's made a decision. Yeah, he hasn't thought about the leverage of the corner, what the corner might look to do afterwards, and he's thrown it flat. And the moment he's thrown it flat, it's intercepted. If he throws it high over the top, maybe the corner catch, maybe the receiver catches it and it's a touchdown. But just based on the leverage and the alignment of the QB, this ball shouldn't be open if the corner plays it well, and the corner does play it well. He throws it regardless, and it's intercepted. Though if he had looked off, he could have thrown it to his check down. His check down might have got tackled for a minimal gain, but his check down's open. But he basically just looks at his number one receiver, sees he wins halfway in the route, but doesn't win completely in the route because the corner's the leverage and alignment, and he gets picked. But essentially he was like, I'm going there no matter what it comes. If this guy looks a certain way at a point in which I'm looking, and he got that, and he threw it, and he was picked.